Drum the Edge. I'm here with Aaron Egger. You also will see two VIP members with me. I have Lisa here, and we have Rob as well. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
How you liking VIP so far?
It's great and challenging. I'm having a really good time.
Yeah?
Absolutely love it. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Very cool, man. Well, we're here talking about some Van Halen and Hot for Teacher. You are the teacher today, so we are hot for you, Aaron. Right? Yeah?
That's great.
That's great, yeah.
Wonderful.
Anyway, so the song alone is quite a hard song to play, but more importantly, the intro. I think the intro is one of those famous drum intros that most drummers try and learn at one point.
Absolutely.
And it's not easy, and so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to talk about the intro today. Later on down the road, we're going to have Aaron do a full transcription and a full breakdown of the actual song, but this is just for the intro. So if you guys have questions along the way, get them in. We are going to hear a lot from Lisa and Rob throughout this lesson, hopefully, and see what their thoughts are on it too. But other than that, do you have anything to say, Aaron, before you get into it?
Well, just other than, I know most people kind of just scoff at the intro of this tune because this song is pieced together of a whole bunch of different stuff. I mean, Dave and I had it in Logic yesterday, and we slowed it all down. We were breaking it apart and everything, and it seems to be, it's like literally 3 different drum parts that got just smashed together to make this one thing. So what we've done here is we've taken as close as we can possibly get to make that playable by one person without having to, get 2 of your buddies to team up and play, the intro to Hot for Teacher. So this is as accurate as we could possibly get it, and I guess let's just hop right into it.
Yeah, I guess so. And you guys might download the intro. We have it transcribed, the intro for you. But again, like Aaron said, during the actual recording, there were a couple different tracks layered over top of each other. So to play it with one drummer, it's almost impossible, I would say, or close to.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've notated it in a way where one drummer can play it, one drummer can learn it, and it sounds very, very close, as you heard him in the intro to this. So let's get into it, buddy.
All right, first thing we're going to look at is the first couple of bars. As you can see right up on the screen there, measures 1 and 2, we have a bunch of the Herta rhythm on the floor tom. You've probably heard this with Meshuggah's Bleed, and for you guys who feel like you could play that with your bass drums, you can absolutely kill these first 6 bars with your kicks. I'll probably show you guys that later for fun.
All right.
But let's do this on the floor tom first. So for a Herta, the sticking we're going to use is basically singles cut across this rhythm. So we have 2 16th notes followed by 2 8th notes, and that's repeating across these 2 bars. We're going to go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, throughout our 8 quarter notes of these 2 bars. I'm going to give us a hi-hat and quarter notes just so we can kind of hear how that sounds first, and then we'll start piecing this together. Let's try that one more time.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
Now, so this is going to be kind of a 6-bar little thing that we're going to put together. There's sort of broken up into a bunch of different ideas. We have 6 bars of this, 6 bars of something else, and then it gets into something even crazier for the rest of it. So let's take a look at bars 3 and 4, after which we're going to put these first 6 together. So bars 3 and 4 have a couple of interesting variations to them. Right off the hop, we have 4 8th notes instead of our Herta rhythm, and we're going to play them as a paradiddle. So right, left, right, right on the floor tom. Now the reason that we're using a paradiddle sticking is to make the following rhythmic patterns easier to play. So coming out of that paradiddle, we're going to have left, right, left. So it's basically like we set ourselves up to get back into that Herta rhythm. At the beginning of measure 4, we have something a little bit more difficult. We have a rhythmic mixture where we're going to add 8th note triplets into this. It's one of the few places in this starting piece where that happens. So you have to be very careful that that 8th note triplet just doesn't turn into another Herta, because it's the same amount of notes and the same amount of space. They're just rhythmically a little bit different. Same thing, I'll give you some hi-hats and let's hear what this rhythm sounds like all together. Let's just take a look at bar 3 and then we'll look at 4 after. Now for bar 4, we are starting off with that triplets. I'm going to count us in with our hi-hats first. 2. Now both bars together sound like this. It's a really fun rhythm. Let's pick it up a little bit. Now, I didn't mention it, but you probably noticed the eighth notes at the end. I just played them as singles. There's
Okay.
going to be one more time that we're going to play them as paradiddles, but that's not until the very end of these 6 bars. Speaking of which, let's take a look at bars 5 and 6. Now, the cool thing about bars 5 and 6 is they are almost identical to bars 1 and 2. The only difference being the last 2 quarter notes worth of material are those eighth notes as a paradiddle, as I just was talking about a second ago. So let's hear what that sounds like. Again, we're going to start off with hurdas. We're going to have 4 of them, and then we're going to get into just eighth notes on the floor tom, playing a paradiddle, right, left, right, right. All right, now let's hear what these first 6 bars sound like all together.
Nice. Can you do that one more time? Kyle, can you maybe just try and spot change from 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, 6 as he's doing it? Thumbs up there. Let's give it another try.
Cool. I'm actually going to give us a metronome for that instead of just hi-hats, so you guys can really hear what beat 1 is. Let's try, I don't know, 150? See what that sounds like. That is not 50. Yeah, all right, that's reasonable. And that's not right. 2, 3, 4. That one was right.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So when you were practicing this, did you literally just do that until you internalized it, or because I saw you were looking at the page too? Are you sight reading this, or how are you doing it?
For this particular one, to be completely honest, yeah, I was working on these this morning, so I'm reading most of this. I have internalized how most of the pattern works, kind of like the last 8 bars or whatever, I just know them. But for these, to make sure you're nailing all those rhythms, I'm absolutely reading it, so.
Cool. All right.
All right,
Sounds good.
cool. Let's take a look at the next 6 bars of this thing. So, unless, did you want to hear that one again?
One more time.
One more time.
One more time.
All right.
This is before the bass drum comes in, so this is a pretty important part.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you know what? Before the bass drum kicks in, I'll show you guys with the bass drum after we do this one more time on the floors.
Okay.
Because that's just really fun. 2, 3, 4.
Nice.
All right, now for the kicks, be careful to follow the same footing pattern because, you know, if you start deviating from the paradiddles and all that kind of stuff, it's just going to make it so you have to learn all these rhythms backwards. So you're going to have to do both right foot hurdas, left foot hurdas. It's going to be a bazillion times harder than just dealing with an eighth note paradiddle.
Okay.
So let's see what this
Okay.
sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, fast it sounds especially fun. Of course, once you get it a little more internalized than that, but again, this morning.
Okay, cool. Sounds good, man. And that was at 150 beats per minute, by the way, guys. The song itself is at 252, I believe?
254.
254, that's right. So it's a pretty fast song.
Blazing fast.
Yeah, that's why it's 8th notes and 16th notes, not 32nd notes.
Yeah, totally. Eighth notes are still fast when you're playing them at like 250.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so now the next section is where the double bass starts to kick in. Now there's something a little bit interesting about this. Now when we take a look at bars 7 and 8, as we have notated up on the screen here, you'll notice that the first note, beat 1 of bar, well I guess 7 here, doesn't have a bass drum with it. Our kicks start on the last note of the triplet of beat 1. So we have, it's going to be on that second floor tom. Now before we get into actually playing this double bass shuffle, which is what your feet are going to do for basically the rest of this whole part, they won't deviate from what you're seeing here at any point after this part. This is notated as going right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right as your shuffle. However, some people feel more comfortable leading left because people like to anchor time with their left foot, playing quarter notes. So if you lead left, right, left, your left foot is already doing what it's normally doing, and your right foot's used to playing syncopated stuff anyway. So for some people, myself included, find that a little easier. However, if you want to lead it right, that's totally fine too.
Okay.
All right, well, let's see what this sounds like nice and slow.
All right.
I guess before we get into that, let's actually talk about what our hands are doing here, because
Yes.
this gets a little bit tricky. So on top of this double bass shuffle, which again is just treat that as an ostinato. You want to basically have this internalized to the point where you don't have to think about what your feet are doing, because if you have to think about them and all this other crazy stuff on top, it's just going to be super, like almost insurmountable difficulty, you know? So get your bass drums internalized. Let's talk about what the hands are going to do. Your hands are going to play a cool pattern that may seem a little bit difficult at first, but I promise you, once you progress a little bit further into this hand pattern will 100% help you out for a lot of the stuff coming up. So what we're going to do is we have left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, right. Left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, right. Let's see what just that sounds like on the floor tom here. Now, I just played it twice in a row there, but what you'll notice, if you take a look at bars 9 and 10, it literally is the same thing again, except we're not skipping that bass drum at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to loop it, I would suggest learn it this way with that bass drum missing, but then also, when you start to repeat the pattern, just start repeating the next 2 bars, because then you don't have that skip in your bass drum, because that never happens in this particular song. It's always just constant kicks. We just start in a weird place.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Try it one more time. Play it again for us.
let's do it. Be especially careful when you're coming from that transition, because into that section we have those 8th note paradiddles, so right, left, right, and then you're into the shuffle triplet rhythm. So it's a bit of an abrupt change, especially missing that kick on beat 1. So we have, it's weird sounding, right? Make sure you use your metronome and really focus on making that rhythm tight on both sides of it. You don't want to kind of have to creep your way up into the triplets or vice versa. You want it to be a very perfect change right on the beat 1.
It's funny, Mark Volker in the chat says, at this tempo, it kind of sounds like a Primus song. I guess it kind of does, yeah.
Totally. Actually, we were mentioning when we were recording something earlier that this sounds like, at these kind of tempos, like that Marilyn Manson tune, Beautiful People, or whatever that was.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Yeah,
how it
that's
goes.
close
Anyway,
enough.
basically like that. That was actually more Longview. Okay, now Tom.
Now
Okay,
we've got too
now
many
we're just
songs
getting
in our
off
heads.
topic on Tom songs.
Okay, what's next?
All right, so next up, we are going to introduce the 10-inch tom. However, we are not going to talk about the next bar first. We are going to talk about a couple bars ahead of that, and we're going to back it up.
Okay.
It'll make sense.
And
I
for this
promise.
part here, and this is where we're getting into the more intricate parts. Those last 2 parts are phrases that you guys can internalize, and you can fake your way through a lot of the song just by using those. So grab your PDF, open it up, and go to the next bar. What are we talking about? Which bar here?
The bars that we're going to look at right now are bars 13 and 14.
Okay. So go to those bars in your sheet music if you're following along.
Absolutely. Now, here's the coolest part about bars 13 and 14 is with the exception of the last note, our hands are going to do the exact same pattern they just did. However, we're going to move our left up to the 10-inch tom for most of it. Let's just see what this is going to look like. We're not going to worry about kicks. Let's just see what our hands do. So we have left, left, right, left, right, left, right. So your left is going to come down for those full triplets. So the broken ones are going to stay up here, and when we go for an actual like triplet kind of thing, that's going to happen with our left hand coming down to the floor tom. Although this one had the 12. That's the one. There is one slight variation on this one. This is one of the only places in this part of the tune where your right hand is going to come up for a 12-inch tom.
Okay.
And by one of, I mean the only place. Your left hand plays it the only other time it happens here. So we are going to have this. I gotta just get my head in the right spot on this. That one's gonna come up. Now, what's interesting about that pattern, the hand pattern that we were just doing is one of the things that's going to repeat itself in and out of the next bunch of sections. That left, left, right, left, right, left, right, that's going to happen all over the place, and we're going to have a bunch of variations in and out of it. Now, where our toms actually start come in on beat 3 of bar 11. So that's a really odd place to start your toms for this because it seems like a very new idea that's starting. So it's almost off-putting coming in at the middle of a bar.
Okay.
So for this kind of thing, when you're practicing it, take it really slow and make sure your metronome has a quarter note pulse with an accent on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Otherwise, it's really easy to accidentally decide beat 1 is where that rack tom starts, which isn't the case and is going to throw you off for the whole rest of the thing.
Okay.
So let's nice and slow see how this is going to sound. Actually, I guess we should play this with kicks before we back up and show the rest of that part.
Yeah.
Left. Whoops.
Love it. One more time.
There we go.
Very cool. You guys following along with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
You get sheet music on the screen. These guys, for the first time, get to see what it's like to be on this side, and we can see the sheet music on the actual TV there. So we're following along this on this side again. That's nice.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Okay, so let's back it up to bar 11 and see how this is going to all play into itself. So bar 11 is coming right out of that thing we were doing before. We were just on the floor toms and the kicks. So we're going to start with that. So beats 1 and 2 are going to go left, left, right, right, with our kicks happening, and then we're going to get up to that rack tom. So just bar 11 on its own sounds like this with our hands. You got to be mindful of your dynamics on the rack tom here. That 10-inch tom, a lot of those notes are very quiet and almost kind of hard to hear. It's one of those things where it's hard to even distinguish whether he's playing on a rack tom or a floor tom, but you can hear if you kind of really close in on the resonance that there's a ghost note going on in that rack tom a whole bunch of times within this tune. So if you don't use the dynamics with it, it seems like within this part, the 10-inch tom is really the focal point. It's kind of the
most shots or his accents and on, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you play your ghost notes too loud, you're going to be playing what would sound like the wrong rhythm to people that are listening to it. So you have to be mindful of your dynamics for this to work.
Okay.
All right. This is bar 11. Now, here's the deal. After that, we're going to continue with that left, left, right, left, and then triplets down on the floor tom. That's going to happen a few times before we get back up to that one where it has the 12. I know this seems confusing, but this is a free-form solo thing that keeps changing all over the place. For me, that 12 is a signal that something new is coming because the next part's a little bit different.
Okay.
So let's take it from bar 11, real slow, down to bar 14. One more time.
Sweet.
All right. Maybe once a little quicker?
I was going to say a little quicker with the click, too.
Oh, good call.
Need to put some click on. That's a good time.
Up a little bit. All right.
There we go.
1, 2. All right. So now after this part, it's going to change up again. And I apologize with this. This whole part is going to be just new stuff after new stuff after new stuff. You basically are just going to have to follow along bar for bar and try and learn it piece by piece because there's not a lot of things that really specifically repeat other than that motif that keeps changing its position within the bar. So you really have to learn this basically a bar at a time. All right, let's look at bar 15. Here's where we're going to start adding in. It's one of the few places that we have a double with our right hand. And that is basically just going to make space for our left hand to hit a rack tom up here while still having all this kind of stuff. We don't want to be doing any of this crazy crossover things while we're playing it over 250 beats per minute. That's just going to get super messy and scary, and probably going to throw sticks all over the place. I'm going to be hitting Dave. This is just bad news. All right, so right off the hop with this, we have just straight up triplets on the floor tom. So we end up with a double the second time we go there. So we have right, left, right, left, left, right, right, left. Right, left, right, left, left, right, right, left, and then right, right to end.
That's a
part.
weird figure. Yeah.
Definitely is. It's one of the few times. It's actually the only time that particular figure happens. So make sure you spend some time on it. If it's one of those things that it's a little bit too hard for you, it's not the end of the world if you don't play that double on the floor tom. You could do one of two options. You could either just play it like it wasn't there, so, or you could play in between the kicks and skip that first right hand. So you could have like. So if you want to skip out that note, it's not going to be the end of the world. In fact, almost all the floor tom notes in this song sound so close to kicks, it's hard to tell if he's even playing one there or not.
That's the thing is the recording quality. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Bass drum, is it a tom? Is it this? Is that? And
Totally.
then whatever else they layered over top of it. What was that?
Yeah, seriously, I must have listened to that thing like slowed down, just isolating in on the sounds probably 100 times last night.
And he
just
pulls
to
me
make
into
sure
the
this
room. He's
was
like,
right.
"You got to listen to this," and I'm like, "What am I even listening to here?" All right, let's keep going.
It's just ridiculous, so fun. Anyway, all right, this next part. Okay, so now we're gonna have one of the first times where we're gonna have two, basically, beats 1 and beat 2 happening on the rack tom as an accent. So we're gonna start breaking up this rhythm from being the rhythm that we had before. So now we have, wait, where are we at? I was on the wrong bar there. Here we go. So basically we're accenting 1, 2, 3, 4 up here. Now with the kicks, we have.
Okay, what bar are we on right now?
That was bar 16.
Okay. When you get to the next figure, can you do from the very beginning up to where you're at?
Okay, cool.
I'd like to see where in context where we're and how far into the intro we are at. That'd be great to hear.
Yeah, okay. In fact, it would make sense to even just take it up to what we just did, up to bar 16.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm going to go nice and slow, and let's just see what this all sounds like up to there.
And guys, follow along with your sheet music to see if you can sight read along with Aaron.
All right. So right there, we start getting into a different feel. We had this interesting pattern that was going on in the toms before, and now we're going to start to break it up. So let's move on to bar 17. Bar 17 is going to just basically almost give us kind of like a backbeat thing, but up on the rack tom. So before we had 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 for the next bar as far as the accents go. So bar 17, nice and slow. We're going to start up with the triplet. And then we have, again, the same accent figure, but we're going to take the triplet away the second time. So. I forgot, I have an old version of the transcription with the wrong stick in there. That almost got me.
Sweet.
Cool. Into bar 18, we're going to start changing it up again. So for bar 18, we're back to a more syncopated figure instead of giving us these big quarter note hits. So we have. Now this is another one of these figures that we're going to see happen a couple times throughout the piece. So this happens almost identically in the next bar as well. And it definitely happens at least one more time before we're done. So again, bar 18, nice and slow with just our hands. Fun one. It's one of my favorite bars anyway.
Cool.
All right.
I know Adam Wade in the chat is loving this lesson and said it's helping him out. And I think for a lot of you guys who actually are playing the song or wanting to learn the song, this transcription will probably help you more just to correct some of the wrong patterns you're playing, or maybe help bring some variety into the beats you're doing. Because I remember when I've done this a couple times on just jam nights or cover bands, and a lot of times I just kind of fool around with the toms and that shuffle bass pattern, and I get something going and all that, right? But even listening to the patterns you're doing now, I've never played those patterns before. So already for me, I would take one of those and maybe add it to the conglomeration that I do already and slowly piece it together. And as I play it more and more and more, it'll start sounding more closer to the actual
Absolutely.
intro.
I feel the same way about it. Like, to be completely honest, up until we started playing around with this transcription, I was playing it completely wrong too, because I'd never put any specific thought into it. So it's fun to actually see
Totally.
what the closest possible figures are going to be and see how he's actually playing it.
Yeah.
I always played, actually, out of a point of interest, if you want to get away with Hot for Teacher and you don't want to go through all this kind of stuff, the pattern that I used to do is dead simple. I basically would just start soloing around with my left hand, and that was as close as I wanted to get it.
Do that again.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a
Come
miss.
on.
Swing and a, you know, it's funny because that's I don't think anyone in the audience would come up to you and say, "Hey, you know what? Your intro to Hot for Teacher, I don't think it was there." You know, fooled me.
Except
but
for China, I wouldn't
except for
fool
the swing and
anybody.
the miss. No, I caught that from a mile away, and you're fired.
That's it. Bye, guys.
Back
You're not
to
going to
stuff.
see me again.
If you want the rest of the lesson, Jared will teach you the rest of it. Yeah,
Fair. Yeah, he can get me through the rest of this stuff.
right.
All right. Okay, so now we're on to bar 19. Bar 19 is one of the other places where we're going to see a big fat quarter note figure. And they don't happen a lot, so they have a lot of rhythmic impact, which is kind of cool. It's neat when you can take something basic and have it make almost more impact than the weird stuff that's going on, just because you've been doing weird stuff. It's kind of like Tool's principle, where they have like all their verses are just crazy, and then their choruses hit so hard because it's something a lot more normal.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing happens here, because this bar is, again, a totally standout bar, even though it's one of the most normal ones. So we're going to start up with just straight up full triplet on the floor tom, so right, and then left, left, left. With, again, the last one being kind of quieter. All right, so let's hear what that sounds like with the kicks. All right. Now, next bar, we're going to go back to that backbeat kind of thing happen again. It's almost identical to the bar above it, with the exception of we have the full triplet again. So let's hear bar 20. All right. Now, we're finally getting kind of close to the end of all this tom insanity, but we still have 4 more bars, and they're weird again. So let's get right into it. So bar 21 is going to have kind of a similar figure to how the start of the tune was again. So. Carried away into the next bar there. It's too fun to play this song.
Okay.
Okay, the next bar is a little bit more basic. We have, again, sort of that backbeat kind of fill. We're just going to go triplet, triplet, the full triplets each time. So. One of the interesting things that happens for a couple bars here is that those ghost notes don't stay up on the rack tom. It sounded far closer to me like they were coming down to the floor tom. So we have a little bit more left arm
Okay.
motion to go with this one. Now, actually, that last note, sorry, is up on the rack tom. You will need that up there for what's coming up. So now we're going to have a couple more bars. Just a couple more. Just a couple more. So this is back to that similar figure that we started up this line with. So this is very similar to bar 21, the only exception being the very last note of it. So we have into, and then here's where we bust into the next part. Although, you know, you gotta hit it like this.
Yeah, you can't
Part of it
miss.
is hitting the cymbal.
Okay.
It's kind of important. All right, let's hear what these last couple bars sound like with the bass drums added in. Now, at this point, there's one last thing to really talk about, and that's the groove that basically kicks off the tune. So we have gone through all of the crazy tom insanity.
So let's do the tom insanity from the beginning.
Let's do the tom
Let's do
insanity.
it, let's do it slow, and then let's try and do it closer to the up tempo.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. We're gonna take it, let's say 150. Let's try that. That seems reasonable. Make sure I can actually see this whole thing. All right, I can see as much as I need.
All right, let's follow along.
Now, there were some flubs in there. Did you catch them?
I did because I was following along with Lisa here. I'm looking. I'm like, no, you didn't do that one. But we didn't really notice. Let's try a little faster.
Okay. Let's do 190.
Okay.
It's way easier to play this one faster once you get it. It's like reading that stuff slow is actually hard,
I can
man.
imagine. Sounded a little bit more Van Halen-esque now.
It's getting there.
Yeah. So for the last little bit, I mean, we could talk a little bit about the beat, but the main intro is what we wanted to teach here, the tom kind of conglomeration, whatever you want to call it, that he does in the beginning.
Yeah.
But very quickly, what are you doing for that beat?
The beat is a basic double bass shuffle with a ride cymbal embellishment. So let's get rid of that ride cymbal embellishment and just see what it sounds like first. So on its own, minus any of that fancy stuff going on here. So it's about as basic as you can get for a double bass shuffle, with the exception of those little shots at the end, which are just on the last note of the triplet on beats 3 and 4 of every fourth bar. within this part anyway. Now, the difference is that on beats 1 and 3, we're going to play the first and second note of the triplet on the ride cymbal. So instead of being... we'll have...
Sweet.
There we have it.
All right, guys, I know there's a lot to take in for this one lesson, and many of you guys might not even be learning this song right now, but I know there's quite a few people that want to learn this song. I know there's a ton of people that I have talked to back and forth about learning this song and what I do on it. Very similar, not identical to what you do with your fake version, but similar to that. But this is great. The transcription's there for you guys, printed off. Let me know if you guys have any questions for Aaron while we're here. Before I get into that, though, Rob and Lisa, we just watched Aaron teach the intro to Opera Teacher. You were sitting right beside him. I was watching his feet a lot of the times. What do you think? Do you have any questions for him or anything like that?
It's incredible to watch it in person live.
Thanks, man.
The one question I have is that this intro is so iconic for a rock song, and is so iconic for Van Halen. I really didn't realize that it was a shuffle double bass beat.
Yeah, man.
What is making this intro so iconic and so special? Is it that shuffling ostinato? And how can you apply that to your everyday playing and maybe do some fills or some solos based on the ideas that Alex Van Halen came up with?
That's actually a really good point about it. I think just the fact that, I mean, it was all about just like big 80s excess at the time, so like, you know, the more of everything, the better. So they just layered on a bunch of crazy drum tracks to start this just absolutely insane double bass shuffle thing. But that's actually a really good point, is that you could take little pieces of these and use them as drum fills, use them as like miniature parts of a solo. You don't need to take the whole thing. And I mean, let's face it, when are we going to need to play 100% exactly note for note? Other than if you're just, you know, doing it for your own personal practice or a video.
Yeah.
To actually use this stuff, you'd be better off to take little pieces of it and try and incorporate them as like a little bit of a drum fill, or if you want to do that Herta thing somewhere, or heck, you could learn that Herta part as under a groove, just like the Meshuggah guys do it. Just, you know, throw a quarter note china up there, put a backbeat on it. Sound ridiculous.
No kidding. It is quite an iconic piece, though. And you know, I haven't heard as like very many double bass shuffles like that since. There's not too many songs that have that. It was like the first kind of double bass shuffle groove that fit in such a popular song that everything just kind of lined up. But you know, Fred was in the chat too, saying I didn't really even realize it was a shuffle on the double bass until he was watching this. So it's very cool that you pointed that out.
I think people just kind of forget that there's other shuffles. I feel like every time I've ever put any sort of double bass shuffle, anything on the internet, we get Hot for Teacher comments about it. Right. It just became the double bass shuffle.
Totally, yeah, totally. Lisa, what do you think?
That was really cool. What really was nice today, we started doing some different hands, like right, left, right, and watching Aaron do that is like, that's where you can put that. So that was really cool.
There you go.
And then yesterday we teamed up as drum solos, and Rob and I were together, and he did the shuffle thing, which I've never done. So, you know, that was kind of reinforcing where you can put it. So that was really great.
It wasn't quite good, or as good, to be honest. Yeah.
Well,
it was solid.
Up here. We were getting there, Rob. We were getting there.
I was surprised when we were walking by, everyone's doing their solo pieces, and then I hear Rob and Lisa. I'm like, you guys doing a shuffle for your solo piece?
Yeah, that caught me off guard too. That's great.
Yeah, good for you guys. Yeah. But it's great to hear it in context. See, because I mean, we teach stuff all the time that sometimes each drummer's just like, well, where am I going to put that, right? But there's your reason, right?
Yeah.
Let me check in the chat or in the questions to see if there's any submitted for you, Aaron. And all right. B-Rad has a question.
All right.
Don't worry, it's a good one. That's actually a cool question.
Hey,
He
B-Rad.
says, I like Aaron's version, the one that you did before this. He says, could you write that down at some point?
We totally should. Let's do like a Van Fakelin version or something like that. I'll do a quick little lesson on how to sort of play Van Halen's
Well, what
Hot
you
for
should do,
Teacher.
here's a great idea for you, and remember this, because we'll do this one, faking your way through some iconic parts.
That's actually a really
and this
good
would be
idea.
This would be a great one to do, because sometimes it's too hard, too much time to put all into learning the exact note for note. When you got a gig to do, you just want to learn how to fake your way through it, right? faking your way through some iconic drum parts or something.
Totally. I can actually give you a real quick breakdown of it though.
Okay,
So
really go.
left, right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, right. Get that happening, and then throw your double bass shuffle under it, and it's going to sound pretty close to Hot for Teacher. In fact, we can even build it sequentially. One of the first steps you could do is just chucking your left foot in quarter notes, because again, leading the double bass shuffle left, that's just naturally going to work. So. And then when I went on to start kind of soloing over it, I was basically just playing whatever I wanted with my left hand and just filling in stuff with my right. I didn't put any specific thought into it whatsoever.
Cool. And that speed, it sounds awesome. All right, another question here. This one's from Marv Flies. This one's off topic. Okay, off topic as usual. Marv wouldn't have it any other way. He says, from yesterday's lesson, can you import this is for the TD25, okay? Can you import the TD25 kits into the TD30? So far, I have not had any success. My question for you would be, would you want... I don't think you'd need to import the 25 kits into the 30. Aren't they the same kits?
They're not the same kits. Here's the thing, is like the TD25 and the TD30 technically work differently. It is the same sound engine. It's of the exact same sound quality as the TD30. However, because they work differently and they use different algorithms to modify stuff. Remember how yesterday I was talking about how much more customizable the TD30 is?
Yep.
They use different ways to create their sounds than the TD25 does. It's the same kind of sound engine, but just a different process. It's like Mac versus PC. They aren't compatible with each other, unfortunately.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. All right, last but not least, we have Drummer64. He says, I know this is off the lesson. That's okay, but I took one of my rack toms off the stand to tune it, and tune it, and the bolt that holds the tom to the stand is lodged in the part that the stand goes through on the tom, so I can't get the floor tom on the stand completely. So how do I dislodge it? Let me read that again, because do you follow that?
It sounds like he's saying the wing nut for whatever his tom mounting device is, it depends on the drums he has, is just stuck.
Stripped or stuck, probably. He says, yeah, it says, but I took off one rack tom to tune it, and the bolt that holds the tom to the stand is lodged in the part of the stand that goes through on the tom, so I can't get the tom off the stand completely.
Oh, maybe it's one of those old school mounting devices where it actually kind of pushes into the rod, and he actually dug it in there.
Oh, okay.
Could be.
Could
I
be.
think that's what you're talking about.
How would you get that out if that was the case?
If it's I think the only thing you could do, like if you're not able to get it out just by twisting it, you're probably going to have to just break the part and make it work another way. So I'd suggest, I mean, this is probably bad advice. I'd suggest taking the wing nut off and drilling a hole in it and using a drill, but maybe take it to your drum shop. They're going to have a better answer and probably tools to fix it, and you're not going to ruin things. No, I take no responsibility for you wrecking your toms. I'm sorry.
Like, you don't just take a crowbar and stick it in there and wedge it apart?
Well, it'll work, but your tom won't work after.
Drummer64, hey, give me an email with a picture. Maybe I can help you out. And I know we have quite a few drummers that might have seen that happen before. So if I can't help you, I'll find someone that can. Or like Aaron said, just take it to a drum shop. Most of the drum shops or music stores around here that I've been to are more than happy to help you out with small little things like that. I've had little lug casings explode on me, and I've brought them in. They've always have little extras. A lot of the manufacturers stock them up with things like that happen. So
Totally.
I don't think they'll give you grief if you do that. But if you want, also send me a picture, david@drumeo.com, and I'll take a look at it.
It could also be the last step too. Like if all else fails, you can contact the manufacturer.
Yeah.
They'll be able to tell you what's up for sure.
That's true. That is true. Okay, let me just check, see if there's anything else that came in. We have one from Drumbum 1981. Not a question, Aaron. I just have missed your last couple live lessons. I heard with an H-E-R-D you got into an accident recently on your Facebook. Just glad to see you're okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for today's lesson. It was cool to see how it actually is done compared to how I faked my way through it for years. Yeah, cool.
That's kind of the comment I've heard from everybody. It's like we all just fake our way through that tune. Now we at least have something close.
There you go. And yes, Aaron was in an accident.
Yeah, it was horrific.
He hit a cow.
Man, do we have that picture? No, we probably don't. But anyway, yeah, the van was totaled. My bass player was driving. We were coming home from a gig. We were out of town. I was asleep, which was probably the only reason I'm basically fine.
Yeah.
But we were going like 100 or something, and the herd of cattle just meander their way into oncoming traffic, as far as I hear the story, because I just woke up to the impact. We're spinning, we're screaming, the thing's all smashed. I have no idea where I am or what's going on. After we kind of stop, I did a mental check of my limbs. I feel like I got everything. I'm like, dude, what happened? It's like, well, we hit cows.
We hit a cow.
Okay.
That can be very dangerous. So
Oh,
it's
dude,
glad
honestly,
you're okay.
if that hood hadn't flipped up, for sure I'd be dead, because it would have come through the windshield. It basically totaled the entire front of the car.
That's crazy.
It was nuts. I'm very, very lucky.
He's been on an all beef diet to stick it back to the cows.
Yep, I've even got a saying that I can't say right now, but yeah, not a fan of cows right now.
Fair enough.
Lots of steak.
Okay, so we're going to end it there. There's no more questions. Do you have anything to add, guys?
No, except that so far VIP week is an amazing experience.
Awesome.
I can't recommend it enough.
Awesome,
We've
man.
got the
Very
best
cool.
teachers in the world here, and it's such a fabulous experience.
You guys are too kind.
I'm so glad you guys are having such a good time.
Yeah, how do you like being on the other side of the camera? You guys always see it from your screens. Now you know what it's like for me and Aaron and whoever else is here looking at the other side. What do you think?
The lights are blinding.
Right.
They are
really
really
smaller
bright.
than you think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no
is.
kidding.
And it's louder than you probably think too, because Aaron plays loud.
Sorry.
Poor VIP members, we didn't give them in-ears. Oh my goodness, no wonder why it was so loud. Usually we all have in-ears, so we can blame Kyle and Victor for that one, right?
But Drumeo has an amazing facility here, brand new. It's just incredible.
Thank you very much.
I would definitely recommend, if you didn't make it this year, definitely come out next year.
Very cool. We do them every year. This is our 5th one now. We have 2 more this year, and we won't be. Obviously don't have any spots up this year, but it won't be too long before we release the next year's spots. So I'm glad you're having a good time. We're going to wrap up here. We've got some more practice to do with all the VIP members. Aaron, you're going to play us out with this intro one more time, okay?
All right.
That's the least you could do.
It's the least I can do.
And maybe do it up to like close to 250.
All right, let's do, since we already played it basically there, I'll give you guys one more tempo. Let's do, say, 220.
Okay, there we go. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Leave a comment below if you're watching this afterwards and you have some questions about it. You can email me, dave@drumeo.com as well, and we'll see you all tomorrow.